Jim Chalmers is praising the latest inflation numbers despite fears it could set back an interest rate cut. Headline inflation was steady at 2.1% in October. Joining us live now is independent analyst Evan Lucas. Not so much headline, though, that's underlying. That's the big problem, right, Evan?
Yeah, it is, Pete. I mean, again, I'm not surprised that the Treasurer is highlighting the headline numbers at 2.1%. That sounds fantastic until you drill into it and see that electricity is the really big mover there, down 12% over the last 3 months alone. And that is really making up the majority of it. And what's that for? That's obviously the electrical rebates that are coming through, not just from the feds, but also WA and Queensland. So they all came in during the month of October. We all saw that basically coming through. So that explains that quite heavily. The underlying one, which is what you're rightly pointing out, that trim mean figure ticked up ever so slightly. It's still holding at about 3.8%. On a 6-month rolling average, it's 3.5. I think I'd rather talk about that because the monthly movements are there. And the reason the tick up in October happened is around construction. Construction costs actually jumped by about 6% in the month of October. We did start to see more and more, not just new homes, but more renovations actually start in the month of October, which jumped up that price. So again, the RBA will look at that underlying figure. It's doing what it wants. It's trending lower. They've even updated their statement of monetary policy that they think that inflation may get into target sooner than they're forecasting, which is mid-2026. But only by 3 months. So we're still a long way away from where the RBA thinks it will be.
Well, this is more and more experts, more and more banks still push out the possibility of an early rate cut. It's getting deeper and deeper into next year now, Evan.
Yeah, and I think when we look at all this, and I've actually put my hand up and said I'm one of the same people, is that we sort of all of us in the economics world do our forecasts, forgetting one thing: we're not the gatekeepers. The gatekeeper is the RBA. And if you strip out all the forecasts and actually just listen to what the RBA is saying, they're already pretty much forecasting that a mid-year number is more likely with regards to a rate cut than any time before then. There is not enough data that they're getting. There is not enough transition to what they want to say as sustainably towards target that's happening. And that's why, more and more forecasts are now saying that, May or July is more likely. Again, as you've been reporting all morning, the other issue is the federal election. We are now in this sort of chicken and egg race of who goes first, because the RBA is waiting to see what both sides of politics are going to promise around the election and how much stimulus that's going to be. The RBA, therefore, is sitting on its hands. The feds, on the other hand, are sitting on its hands waiting to see the RBA to cut rates or when they're going to cut rates before they announce any of their stimulus. And there's this push-pull factor around it, again, making it even harder to forecast when that first rate cut will come.
Okay. Meanwhile, we all wait. Evan Lucas, thank you as always.